your boy Wardy, and we're coming at you with the latest Mets post-game show live on YouTube. For all my loyal subscribers, new and recurring viewers, happy to have you all in here. For my viewers watching on Twitter right now, happy to have you guys and gals here too. Just know that if you want to interact with me in the chat as we break down everything that transpired, our initial reactions, going through the statistics, the highlights, and who was the killer of the game, which we all know the answer to that, and everything in between, make sure you check out the YouTube live version because I will not be addressing the comments through Twitter, but I appreciate everyone that takes the time to like, retweet, all that stuff. Guys and gals, I got a lot to say about this one. If you know me, if you've been following me, you know how I react to certain things, and you know that I am beyond heated with the entirety of this ball game. It was two different ball games. So on one hand, I'm happy to an extent with the production that we saw in the latter half, but on the main hand, I am fed up and so frustrated with everything that got us to the point in which we did, which was headlined by RHYS Hoskins being the Mets daddy and the Mets doing nothing about it until it's too little too late, as Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez agreed famously said on the SNY broadcast. I have so much gripes with how the Mets approach RHYS Hoskins today. I have a lot of gripes with what we saw with Luis Severino on the mound today, and furthermore, just an offense. Again, this team led by Carlos Mendoza, we're seeing early how would they potentially retaliate, if at all, and we got our answer. And I'm truthfully, while I am in favor of retaliation, I think that they went about it one of the worst ways possible. I guess the only counter now that the Mets ended up going from losing by, say, 5 runs, they lost by 1, is that maybe that retaliation is, again, the fire they needed, which is what got the offense going afterwards. Thanks to Brett Beatty in the pinch hit situation, which was tremendous. Thanks to Pete Alonso, again, there in the 9th inning. But there was so much frustration, a lot of head scratching, and this was just a whirlwind of a ball game. So we're going to be breaking it all down now, so that everyone first chiming in, thank you all so much. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. Wouldn't be baseball season without Wardy. I appreciate the love, Neil. Thank you so much. I see a lot of my loyal members and recurring viewers here in the live chat right now. Sevy sucked, period. Thank you for the donation, Juan. Ramirez is my hero, and you saw it spark some fire into the Mets. Hoskins needs to get drilled in the head, period. Well, I don't agree with potentially giving guys severe brain damage, but I do agree with sending a message. But I have major gripes with how the Mets sent their message today because it was too little too late. Here's the thing. This is going to be, again, a hot topic, hot button topic. There's a lot of controversy with this. I understand that. But just listen to what I'm about to say regarding the following. So before we even break down the ball game in any which way, shape, or form, let's emphasize how we got here, right? As many of you saw, we saw the build-up yesterday between RHYS Hoskins and Jeff McNeil. Unfortunately, we saw, again, McNeil react the way he did, in the sense, when I say it's unfortunate, in the sense of kind of all the trickle-down effect that came after. Of course, RHYS was talking smack, especially as he left second base, got more closer to the dugout. And now today, what a lot of people wondering is, RHYS Hoskins going to be hit? Is something going to happen? We found out that yes, something did happen, but too little too late. To the point that the Mets decide, you know what, RHYS, we're not going to throw to you until after you go 3 for 3 with the home run and 4 RBIs, because that makes the most sense. Honestly, one of the most boneheaded decisions I've truly made. And what frustrates me so much about this, when I say me, I mean the Mets, obviously. You had an opportunity to throw up and in on RHYS in his first at-bat. Who knows what would have happened afterwards? RHYS in his first at-bat on a 2-2 count drove an RBI single down the third baseline, which increased the Brewers' lead at that point. I think it was 3-1 or 3-0, whatever it was. Afterwards, we'd see second at-bat, multi-run home run. Absolutely pimped it. Of course he did. Third at-bat, gets a hit, right? And then afterwards, he gets on via walk after he's thrown at by Johan Ramirez. What drives me up a wall, why I'm so flustered by this entire situation, is that instead of the Mets deciding to make a statement early on where there's no guarantee that Sevy A would be thrown out, or 2, deal with a suspension, because let's face it, guys, if you throw up and into a batter, even after controversy the day prior, there's no guarantee of those things happening. What there is a guarantee of is the pitcher being thrown out after the same batter went out of his way to work around you and literally make you his bitch. Let's be frank. Pardon my French. Parental advisory. Put on the earmuffs, kids. RHYS Hoskins was the Mets' daddy this series to this point. He has been the Mets' daddy this series. He took all the energy, all the momentum that went from game one and utilized it and harnessed it to his advantage like a proper player should in his shoes. What did the Mets do? They decide to get stepped on left and right and then decide too little too late to retaliate. Because think about it. If he was thrown in the first at-bat and Sevy is staying in the game, right? Let's say hypothetically that does happen. Who knows what the further outcomes are of this ball game? Who knows if the Mets got the fire under their ass that they needed sooner, and maybe we don't have to look at the 7-6 loss when you have 12 hits, when in reality, maybe you were able to ultimately win this ball game. That's what frustrates me most. I am not happy with Mendoza's decision here, assuming that Mendoza had, a say in Ramirez throwing at him the way he did. Now Yohan Ramirez, again, his Mets debut. I love him. I appreciate the guy doing what he did, but I just hate the timing of it all. The momentum was too little too late. We saw the Mets again. We saw the awesome pinch hit bomb by Brett the Met. We saw, of course, what he got from Pete Alonso, but it was still too little too late. That is what bothers me most about this entire situation. If it was a spot where, okay, say, if RHYS Hoskins was going over throughout the entire game at this point, and then he got thrown out, he's probably not getting thrown out of the game, that being in Yohan Ramirez. Why? Because there's really nothing to validate it aside from the boos you'd hear raining on Hoskins every at-bat that he took full advantage of and said, screw you guys, I'm going to go hit nukes. I'm going to go do what I'm supposed to do. I will give credit where credit's due. I hate RHYS Hoskins. Despise the man. But he did exactly what you would want a villain to do in this story. He took full advantage of this situation, and he knew the Mets were soft. He knew the Mets were not going to retaliate sooner than what they did. And that, again, is why my gears are as grinded as I am. And then we got Luis Severino deciding, you know what, I'm going to give up a career-high 12 hits today, which is awesome. Love to see that. Then you're getting, again, Francisco Alvarez being the only one who seemed to give a damn in the offense today up until after we saw RHYS get thrown out. Again, too little, too late in these circumstances. So we're going to go through this game inning by inning. I want to see how you guys and gals feel about this entire situation. For people that watch on replay, let me know your thoughts down below too. Greatly appreciate as the Mets drop their first series of the year. Now to the point where the Mets are 0-2 for the first time since the start of the 2014 season. Not that that means really anything, but just throwing that out there because that was a stat. We always lose versus Brewers. It's nothing new. The Mets have had a lot of good wins against the Brewers at Citi Field. They get absolutely owned, hosed when they are in Milwaukee. So we can't even use that as an excuse. The only good thing about this Milwaukee Brewers series is that the Mets do not play him again until the end of the season. By him, I mean the Brewers. They literally do not match up with Milwaukee until the final series of the season again. So we're going to go through this, but before we break down the game inning by inning, kind of going through this process a bit more, I just want to see everyone's initial and genuine reactions to the 7-6 loss, to the series loss as well. Mendoza just said, I know it looks really, really bad, but we're not trying to hit anybody. Even if that's true, I mean, the timing could not have been worse, right? You mean to tell me that Yohan Ramirez, the one pitch that he's sailing up and in right by the head, is that RHYS Hoskins, who was clearly enemy number one since yesterday? That's the frustrating thing here for me. That is where I have my gripes, because you really have to wonder would things be different if it was approached different earlier on. I'm not saying to full-on hit RHYS. I know if you hit RHYS early, your pitcher's thrown out and you deal with suspension. We've seen that over the past couple years with the Mets. That's why they don't retaliate much. That's why they allow themselves to get stepped on, because they know umps are expecting it. But truthfully, in the situation where there wouldn't have even been warnings right away, you have to wonder what the circumstances would have been, again, in that hypothetical that he was thrown out ahead of time. I do see a bunch of donations I want to address before we get further in the live show. Everyone first live chiming in live on a replay. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button for your boy. Greatly appreciated. Again, as the Mets unfortunately dropped this one by a final score of 7-6. Too early for the rants, Rory. Trust me, I know. And this is not an overly rant either. I'm not like screaming into the mic. I'm not, saying everyone is a bum, all this stuff. We're not at that point, thankfully. But this needs to be addressed, because this was such a hot-headed game when, in my opinion, there were things that could have been avoided and went about better than what they were. It's over now. It is what it is, but that's why we're talking about it. Let's see. Let's go up. Let's see. Sevy, thank you so much for donation. Juan. Dave with the $2 holla says, the big tease as usual. Sevy stinks. I will say this, as brutal as Sevy was today, I don't know how much of a concern I have with him at this point. It seemed like he was tipping his pitches again, which is a problem he's had in the past. The stuff was there, but the problem is the stuff was all in the zone. The heart of the zone, a lot of it too. Then you saw times where, again, good hitters took advantage. Even 98 top left corner, William Contreras slaps the other way. Like, sometimes there are situations where you have to tip your cap to the batter, not to mention that what unraveled Sevy to begin the game was a borderline error that really should have been a called error on Zach Short, who got the start over Brett Beatty, who had that 3-run home run pinch hit bomb lefty on lefty later in this ball game. Disharmonious, thank you for the $5 donation. He says, they already look like a joke, but I'm going to keep watching, damn it, because that's what we do. 100%. You keep watching because that's what we do. We're diehard fans. We're sickos. We have to go through heaven and hell, everything in between regarding our Metropolitans. Better see a fight tomorrow. We at least need to not be pushovers. I agree. And I hope that the Mets can salvage the series tomorrow, have the fight that we saw from Ramirez throwing on in this game, and flip the script. Because this was two different games. Pre-throwing to Hoskins was Hoskins dominating the Mets all game long pretty much, and him being our daddy. Second half of the game, after Ramirez threw, was a Mets team that did show life, that had big moments, but they just could not get enough going to ultimately prevail here. Rosemary, thank you for the kind words, White Shark. I appreciate that. McBland with the $10 holla says, this is what happens when the Mets send messages. Instant tossing and or suspension. Same thing happens every time. It's like folks want the Mets to get bullied. Literally. It sucks. It really does, McBland. And there's only so much you can do in those situations, right? I appreciate that donation. My man Darren from the UK, the best Mets fan you'll ever meet from over there. We will get them to Marlboro. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Appreciate you chiming in from overseas. As always, my man. Shout out to Dave, my great member, great friend as always. Juan, awesome moderator, per usual. Same thing with you, Guardian of Chaos. Appreciate you guys. But let's talk a bit more about this. But before I break down the game inning by inning here, let's just, again, go over the obvious. What has drove me absolutely nuts? This schmuck, RHYS Hoskins. RHYS Hoskins. 3 hits, 4 RBIs, 1 home run, and 1 ejected pitcher, all because of this man for having a late slide in his second base yesterday, and Jeff McNeil not happy about it, as Jeff famously said on the field yesterday, and that we heard post-game from both him and Alonso, that this is a reoccurring thing. This is not something new that we have seen with Hoskins over the years. And I'm not shocked by that. RHYS Hoskins has always been a pain in the ass when the Mets have played him. You know, there's been various circumstances outside of the Jacob Rame stuff. Like, he always talks. He can't help himself. But what he can help himself with is making sure he doesn't talk until there's a proper distance. That way he's got his buddies to back him. You know, for a guy as tall and, you know, in the stature that he is, truly Charmin going on. And what's worse is the Mets equally looked as soft, if not worse than RHYS Hoskins today. They definitely looked worse than RHYS, because at least RHYS, while he walked away, he was able to perform at a level and take full advantage of the emotional roller coaster that was still going on from game 1. That is what good players do, regardless of if you like them or not. And I absolutely effing hate RHYS Hoskins, but he took full advantage of this situation, and that's exactly what I would want players on my team, that being the Mets, do if they were in similar circumstances. Instead, we have seen this Mets team sit back, get stepped on, and do nothing with it. Thankfully, after the Ramirez throw out again, we saw a different circumstance, but still, I'm still left with my gears grinded because of just the entire roller coaster, the shakeup of game 2 out of, again, oh yeah, by the way, we got another 160, so don't worry guys, strap in, it's a launch season. Bring back Bobby Valentine, thank you for the donation, I appreciate that. Bobby V isn't coming back. There was like literally 2 years ago where he was considering coming back in the organization in some role, ended up not happening. Yes, I spoke on that surpassed. I appreciate it though, thank you. So now let's talk again, get back into this about the game. Apologies for the intro running. Shout out to our amazing sponsor, as always, BetUS. Make sure you guys and gals click the link down below. That way you too get 125% bonus for your first 3 deposits. And make sure to check out the latest WardyNYM parlay that we showed in our pregame show today, which, if I'm not mistaken, was Arizona Diamondbacks money line, Mariners money line, and Reds run line. Actually, before I even get into that, I do want to see if things are going well on that front, because not all those games are being played yet. I want to say that Reds game may have kicked off by now, but I'm honestly not sure. So if anyone can let me know in the live chat too, that'd be greatly appreciated, to see if our parlay has any better luck than what was yesterday. Yesterday, brutal start for anyone tailing me, and that was just the Mets lost, had the money line. Phillies run line got cooked in the 7th or 8th inning. They gave up like 7 runs to the Braves. And then we saw the final game was Blue Jays money line. My dumb ass thinking Chris Bassett's going to come out with a strong start, gives up a grand slammy. The first grand slam of 2024 goes to, yes, Nate Lowe. Not Nate Lowe, one of the Lows. You know who I'm talking about. RHYS Hoskins owning y'all 100%, Sam. 100%. Appreciate the donation. For those that don't know, which is all of you, Sam's a good friend of mine. We go way, 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 way back. Way, way back. He always chimes in. He's a Braves fan, so he's not perfect. He's a schmuck, but he's a schmuck like me. I appreciate the donation, Sam. Hope you're doing well, brother. Yes, Hoskins was our daddy today, and that's why I'm beyond pissed off. Worry, please go May 11th game. I appreciate you, my man. Member of 17 months, the absolute beauty, Dave. Like I told you, I will absolutely try to be there. Just cannot guarantee at this point in time. It'll be more so, and probably the week prior, I'll have a good glimpse of my schedule and my ability to be there. James, thank you so much for the membership. Really appreciate that. Do I have any Mets on your parlay? Thank God, no, I don't. No Mets on the parlay today. I had no confidence in them, and this is exactly why, unfortunately. I want them to give me confidence, but the Mets were the favorite against the Brewers today, too, where I was looking at that line. I'm like, as a betting man, I'm hammering the money line for the Brewers at plus 117 because why should I believe that they're going to come out drastically different than what we saw in game one? And no, it wasn't Josh Lowe either. It was the other Lowe. There's two Lows on the Tampa Bay Rays, and it wasn't Josh. I don't think it was Josh. I think it was the other one. Josh is the corner outfielder / DH. That's not who I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure. But let's talk about the game. Again, we've been going on for a while now. I'm still pretty high-head about this. So let's start, everybody. Everything starts there in the first inning, right? Sam Frelick with a strikeout. Then William Contreras with a single, right? Bad play by Zach Short, however. Yelich with a single. Willie Adames with an RBI double. Jake Bauers with a strikeout, and RHYS Hoskins with a 2-run single on the first effing pitch. Or, pardon me, maybe it wasn't first pitch. Regardless, RHYS Hoskins, again, drove in another run there down the third baseline. And just like that, they have a multi-run lead for the Brewers there in the first. As we get to the bottom of the first, we see Brandon Nimmo with an opposite field bloop doing his best lefty-on-lefty work still. Alonso with a hit by pitch. Marte with a walk. And McNeil with bases loaded, 2 outs, flies out to fairly shallow center, which was frustrating. Yes, it was. We get to the second. Train with a strikeout. Churrillo with a single. Frelick with a single. Bader just misses the diving catch there. Thankfully, no one would score in that inning. So, again, the Mets are down 3-1. As we get to the bottom of the second, Francisco Alvarez, the man on a mission for 40-plus bombs this year. Yes, you heard that correctly. And yes, he's absolutely going to be one of, if not the best in Major League Baseball from the backstop position. Alvy with an absolute nuke to left on the first pitch he saw or so. And then right after, Zach Short trying to have some redemption from his defensive hiccups with an opposite field single for the New York native and Metropolitan fan growing up. We discussed more on Zach and the Mets as a whole in our pregame show earlier today. Thank you so much to everyone that chimed into that. We will be doing our next pregame show as early as Monday, not tomorrow with the holiday Easter. And again, shout out to everyone that celebrates. He is almost risen here, right? So Mets are dead. There we go. Tommy Doyle's like 2 games of the season. I'm done. I know that's how a lot of you guys feel. Trust me, I do. But we got 160 more, so we got to lock in together. It's going to be a long season with a lot of highs, a lot of lows. But at least I will say this, as frustrating as this game was, it was at least a lot more entertaining than it could have been, right? So that's the one upside, thankfully, from the retaliation and the repercussions that came of that, was that the Mets were actually able to take advantage, get momentum on their side. They fell short, but I truly hope, fingers crossed, they can carry said momentum into tomorrow. But as we advance further in the ballgame here, and after the second and the third, Adames with a single, it hits off of Sevy's glove as he tries to get it, we would see there. Hoskins then with a 2-run, no doubt home run to left. That increases the Brewers' lead. Terrain with a single. We then get to the third. Starling Marte with a walk. Jeff McNeil hits with a single. Francisco Alvarez drives in Marte with runners on the corners and 1 out with an RBI single, his second RBI of the day. That is why Alvy is on my biggest takeaways from today, because he was an absolute stud. Love what we saw from Alvarez today. And then as we get to the top of the fourth, Contreras with a single. That's all she wrote there, thankfully. Bottom of the fourth, Bader with a single, but he's out trying to get to second base because the schmuck thinks that he can outrun Yelich with a clear lane to throw to second base. Beautiful. I mean, it ricocheted off the wall. He played it perfectly. Yelich got him out with plenty of time. So Bader, hopefully we don't see much more of that. Harrison, again, we saw the defense look good today when, again, aside from the one catch he missed, which a lot of guys don't even get there, was happy with the defense we saw from Bader today. And again, he hit against the lefty, which I'm not surprised by, but what was frustrating was to see him do absolutely nothing with it shortly after. Appreciate the love as always, Chris. Happy to have you in here. Turnaround starts tomorrow. One can only hope, right? So now as we advance further here into the show, we talked about what just transpired there between Bader. Now as we get to the fifth, Hoskins with his third and final hit today would be a single. Dunn, the rookie, with his first hit. Bach would then make another run come in. It's now 6-2. Severino's getting cooked. He's given up a career high at this point, that being in 12 hits. And as we take a look at Luis Severino in particular today, along with the rest of the pitching matchups, this is what we got. Sevy, 5 innings of 12 hits, 6 earned run ball, 0 walks, so that's a good thing. 6 strikeouts. Truthfully, I don't even know where the strikeouts happened, because if you were watching this game like I was, it felt like he gave up a hit to every single batter he faced. Career highs and hits he gave up, just a 10.8 ERA. You know, it's early, let's not panic, Mets. I'm not panicking, James. I'm not panicking. Trust me. This is my 4th year covering the team. I know when to panic and when to not, but I'm going to voice my immediate frustration. What was a whirlwind of a ball game that has now left me with a migraine that I hope to get rid of before tomorrow's game on Easter Sunday. Let's see. Scott says, am I doing this shit right? You guys are killing me in the chat. I love you. But that's what we see from Severino, guys. What is everyone's concern level with Luis Severino after his start today? Because what I noticed, the stuff was there. The velo was there. Stuff was there. But 2 things were abundantly clear. As soon as Zach Short had his problem, it looked like Sevy didn't know what to do from there. Like, truthfully. And for the people that are like, oh, this game is completely on the defense, it's completely on Zach Short, miss me with that bullshit. Maybe don't give up 12 hits. Maybe don't give up like 4 consecutive hits after that thing to begin the game. You know, like the last thing I'm going to do is put all this pressure on Short in his Mets debut. Again, a lot of nervous jitters and stuff like that. It wasn't a good play, I understand that, but Sevy was the root of the problem today on the pitching end. I mean, it's not even close. This is 100% all on him in a lot of ways. But what about Severino was most concerning today as we look through Baseball Savant, where they do a great job showing you, their pitch mix, how everything's looking, if things are flat, if things are better than expected, whiff rates, all these kind of things. Let me know your concern level right now about Sevy in the chat. But what we saw from Severino today was the following. 4-seam fastball, top 98, sat 92, average 96, and it was a mile per hour down from last year. Again, not overly concerned there at all. When we look at the slider, top 88, sat 83, average 86. We're looking at that actually was above average from a year prior. Sinker, top 98, minimum 93, sat 95, right around the same. Then changeup, cutter, around the same. Cutter is actually up by 1, and changeup was down by 1. 86.5 there for the changeup, and the average was 85. Cutter topping out 94 and averaging 92. Sevy, what we see today here as we look at the swing and miss, he got himself 8% whiffs on his 4-seam fastball that he threw most today. That's part of the problem, right? There wasn't a lot of swing and miss action there, and it was a lot of covering the plate. A lot of the heart of the plate we saw Sevy throw today, which was frustrating. He threw some absolute hangers with his off speed today too, which ultimately again led to the RHYS Hoskins bomb. I'm pretty sure that was a hanger right down the pipe or close to, which led to Hoskins getting his 2-run shot. But yeah, let me know how you guys feel about it. Again, the stuff's there. I think he may have been tipping his pitches again because it was kind of abrupt to see just how consistent the hitting was, even for a Brewers team. I know it's early in the year, but let's be real. Like, this is not something that commonly happens, and while I understand Severino had a lot of these struggles last year, and Yanks fans were saying the same thing, as a Mets fan that evaluated him as what we saw throughout spring, knowing that you shouldn't take everything to heart with spring, to now seeing this, it's a further reality check on what you get in spring training may mean very little. I think he was tipping his pitches today. I have faith in Germany Hefner and the Mets pitching lab and their ability to work with them. I love that he didn't walk any guys today, so it's great to see that it wasn't like he was struggling on that command front, but he was struggling to locate with his mix inside the box. So Severino, that's where you can really have your criticisms with him. We'll see how he does the next time out there. We'll always give benefit of the doubt when it's the first start of the season as well. I do not think that he's completely washed just yet, but I do think it's something that we're going to have a close monitor on, because if Sevy comes out there next start and has a similar outing to this, it will not be long before that man is either shifted the pen or parted with, and a guy like a Jose Buto will get the call, who was very deserving of impacting the Mets early on this season. Let's see here. Mets will forever be haunted by the ghost of the Milwaukee Brewers after celebrating on their own turf in 2022. You 100% said that correctly, Yoshima. Thank you for the $5 donation. 1200, thank you for the $5 Holly says, not a surprise. It's not going to be a good year with this double A rotation. The new GM, shaking my head on him, bring back Sapucki. I think it's so funny you say that, 1200, because I was thinking about Thomas Sapucki today and wondering how much better or worse would an outing be if he was starting for the Mets. I thought of you earlier today. I hope you know that. Appreciate that donation. Wardy, talk about how good the bullpen was instead of the 45-year-old Otto. Yes, let's talk about the bullpen for a minute, because outside of Adam Ottavino having a completely, and I mean completely flat sinker, as we heard famously said today by Keith on the broadcast, what we didn't see flatness from was from Jake Diekman. Diekmeister looking great in his first Mets outing there. Came in the sixth, 1-2-3, 3 up, 3 down with a strikeout. Yohan Ramirez, again, only 1 out. Had his strikeout, then threw out RHYS. That's it. Thank you for your service. Again, I'm not happy about the circumstance, but I appreciate Yohan doing, again, what his role was likely in that situation. Even if that was a right or wrong decision by the organization, I appreciate him for his efforts there. He's automatically a fan favorite. Ramirez was great throughout spring. The Mets acquired him for a bag of baseballs, and he competed really well this spring to warrant a bullpen spot to this point. I'd assume he will not get suspended, considering he didn't hit RHYS, but that's still be determined. Jorge Lopez comes in because Ramirez being thrown out. And again, on back-to-back days, got to give credit where credit's due. Lopez ramps up early. He gets the final 2 outs. Gave up a walk, but got a strikeout too. And that walk, of course, was to, yes, RHYS Hoskins, the first batter he was facing. Adam Ottavino, again, gave up the 3 hits, 0 walks at least, 2 strikeouts, 1 earned run. And that earned run ultimately was the difference maker in the Mets, at least, being in a tied ball game. No, they lost the ball game, as that was the 7th run that came in. And then in a non-save situation, and I really want to know how you guys and gals feel about this, were you in favor or against Edwin Diaz pitching today in a 2-run deficit in the 9th inning? Let me know how you guys feel, because again, Edwin's pitch count got worked a little bit today too. Gave up a single after 2 outs, but that's all she wrote. Had a strikeout for the final batter he saw. It was so great to see Edwin Diaz back on the mound for the Amazons at Citi Field. Man, have we missed this man so much. But you have to wonder, was that even a spot where it made the most sense? I know you're trying to stay close in the ball game, so I appreciate that aggressiveness from Mendoza, but I'm still just so pissed off by the entire build-up in the process, which led them to act with RHYS the way that they did. But when we look at Edwin in particular, let me know if you guys were in favor or against Diaz coming in this spot, and now is what is unfortunately a wasted outing, a wasted game. And now, while Edwin can be utilized tomorrow, it's not something the Mets are going to have as much of a heavy emphasis on, even this early into the season. They're going to play things smart with him. If I'm a betting man, I do not expect Edwin to be in a save situation for the Mets tomorrow, unless the Mets are up by 1 run. That's where I think we could probably maybe still see it. But yeah, let me see how you guys feel about it. We got a good mix of people being for and against what transpired in the ball game to this point. And as you guys are continuing to talk about that and ponder between yourselves, you're smashing that like and subscribe button. Thank you all so much for the donations, the supports, the likes, the retweets on Twitter too. It means a lot. Help us get to 25K subs for our next short-term goal, guys. We'll be doing a big giveaway on the channel once we hit 25K. I'm pretty sure we're only a couple hundred away at the moment, so help us get to that next short-term goal. And thank you all so much in advance. Really does mean a lot. He needs work. He can pitch tomorrow. He can pitch tomorrow for sure, but at the same time, you also want to make sure you're not overdoing things with a guy that is, in a lot of ways, one of the most important players on your team coming off of a season-ending injury before the season began in 2023. A whole year off. Want to make sure you play things smart with him. Hopefully Martinez up soon and Stewart sent down. Yeah, DJ didn't do us any favors as he came in to pinch hit too. And for the people that were crying for Mark Vientos today, who hit an opposite field bomb in AAA, I'm going to tell you guys right now, there's not a chance in hell Mark Vientos catches up to Uribe's 100-mile-per-hour heater. I promise you that. Mark Vientos' biggest issues at the MLB level has been catching up to MLB caliber pitching, right? We've seen that issue with Brett Baty to a degree. Not there as Brett the Met hit that 3-run dinger after Yohan was thrown out. Lefty on lefty, Brett comes in a situation what you wouldn't expect. You're thinking, oh, this crafty lefty's going to get him out with ease. He says, F that, I'm going to piss on that thing, and we're going to make it a 2-run ball game. Shout out to Brett. Love the moment. Hope to see you in the starting lineup tomorrow. Brett the Met, give him more of a leash, baby. I'm I'm so proud of him to come off cold, off the bench, when the Mets needed a rally starter, and for a young and experienced player like himself, who had a lot mentally going on last year, to step up the right way. That was awesome. Shout out to Brett for being an absolute beauty when it came to that. Okay, let's see here. Where is Brooks Raley? Brooks will likely pitch for the Mets tomorrow. So, okay. Yeah, going back to Mark Vientos just for 1 second. Love Marky V. I do want to see him with the Mets this season. It's not the fact of whether I want to or not. But we cannot be the reactionary types already to the degree where it's like one bad game from one guy means you got to call up another. One, DJ Stewart is only on this team because the Mets were pondering bringing in a Jordan Montgomery or acquiring someone off the waiver wire before the season began, and they couldn't get anything done. So that's what made them decide to stay with DJ, knowing he has a minor league option. So as soon as JDM is up, his ass is more than likely, as things currently stand, being sent down. I know, I know he did not look good in that final matchup, but Uribe is one of the best young relievers in Major League Baseball. And shout out to my absolute beauty of friends from the Mets Up podcast, and Mark and James. Shout out to them for being schmucks. I hope you guys see this. Mark and James have been raving about Uribe, so I hope that they were happy to see their boy carve up the Mets today. They have been on this man for at least the past 2+ years now. I'm going back to when he was pitching the Arizona Fall League, when Brett was there along with others, and yeah, that's all I gotta say. Uribe absolutely killed the Mets today. They have a great bullpen there. We know that. Mets bullpen looked sharp today too, outside of Ottavino, but in the end, the Brewers take the series. This is just a bad team, specifically the pitching staff. Trust me, the Mets pitching staff, I truthfully do not believe is as bad as it's going to be made out to be early on here. Sevy again got cooked today. He was Swiss cheese. He was horrendous. We all know that. I think we're going to have more inconsistencies with our offense than we are pitching this year. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I personally feel. Just because I know how this offense can go through some ridiculous stretches of just being non-existent. But thankfully, bringing in JD Martinez can hopefully help flip this script in that regard. So we'll see what happens on that front. What's going on, Wardy? What's up, Debbie? How you doing? Love the work you do, man. Thank you kindly. Happy to have you in here, brother. Appreciate all the love from all you guys watching live on our replays. We're breaking down the Mets first and what is going to be a lot of series losses this year. Even if the Mets make playoffs, they're still going to lose a lot of series this year. That inevitably happens. Either way, going back to the game here briefly, we would see then after Ramirez is thrown at there in the ball game, in the 8th, Brett the Met, 3-run pinch hit bomb. We saw in the 9th, Edwin Diaz, we discussed. Alonso then would add on a home run to make it a 1-run ball game in the 9th, but unfortunately, that is all she wrote. So your final hitting statistics from the batters that finished the games with the Mets, the only differences being is that Tyrone Taylor got to start in cleanup today. He did not record a hit. And also, I'm blanking on one more. There were 2 things that I thought happened with the lap. Yes, Zach Short, who did have a single, had a defensive hiccup in the first inning. He was then pulled for Brett Beatty later on in the ball game, which led to Beatty staying in the game after hitting the bomb and being the defensive replacement for the rest of the game. Brandon Nimmo, 1 for 5 today with the 2 strikeouts. Francisco Lindor, 1 for 5. Not happy with some of the at-bats they saw from Lindor today. I understand it's early, so I'm not griping too much. Just would have liked to see more. Pete Alonso doing what he needed to do. Not griping much with Pete today. DJ Stewart, again, that's where you can have some gripes. I will say it's not easy coming off the bench cold, but at the same time, when you see a young kid in Beatty doing it lefty on lefty, yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due and maybe not give too much of an excuse for Stewart there. So bear that in mind. Starling Marte, 1 for 3 with the 2 runs scored. 2 walks. Marte's ability to get on base. Starling Marte, outside of Francisco Alvarez, has been the most productive hitter for the Mets for the first 2 games of the season. Who would have thought? Jeff McNeil, 1 for 4 today. Jeff pissed me off in that bases loaded situation, and he further proved again, I have no faith in him. I have little faith in him in a cleanup spot or batting 5th. I like Jeff lower in the order the way he was today, but to see the bases loaded 2 outs, the writing was on the wall. It was. Because even if Jeff was able to drive in a run, maybe he would have gone 2 in with a deep single. If things went right, maybe down third baseline or first baseline. But aside from that, he's not a guy that I have the utmost faith in with runners in scoring position. Not in the sense of driving in runs per se, as it is the ability to drive in them with power. Power is what's going to carry you in the end, and the more the Mets have a lack of power in their lineup, the more they're going to continue to struggle, which is why there's such a heavy emphasis on someone like JD Martinez to get to this lineup ASAP. Francisco Alvarez, 3 for 4 with the home run, the RBI, 2 runs scored. How you doing? Where you been? Where you going? The best young backstop in Major League Baseball. I will stand by that. Best young in the sense of at his age, because there's very few catchers at his age in Major League Baseball. He's the best one. And 2, I promise you, by the time we reach the season's conclusion, Francisco Alvarez will already be in the conversation as a borderline top catcher in Major League Baseball, at minimum in the top 3 to 5 category. Absolutely. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Adley Rutschman. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Sean Murphy all year necessarily, but we know that when Alvarez is right, from his defense, his framing, his pop time, his throw to second, and his offensive ability, there are very few catchers that present those same types of skills to the magnitude the way that Alvarez does. I'm so high on him this season. I think he's going to hit north of 40 bombs, and I don't think that's a stretch to say either. Francisco Alvarez is going to carry the Mets on many nights, and today he was carrying them up until we saw Brett the Met say, you know what, I'm going to help out a brother too. We saw Brett there with the production, side as it did. Now I want to see them have more fire, and hopefully again we can see that again beginning tomorrow after what we saw to conclude today's game. Before we go further though, everybody, got to let you know about our amazing sponsor as always at BetUS. Of course, the thing hasn't popped up there, but thankfully I can pull it up here right about now. Bam, there we go. Okay, everybody, as you saw again earlier today, our parlay consisted of the Mariners, the D-backs, and the Reds. And the Reds game has started already. Can someone let me know what the score in the Reds game is right now? If it looks like we're looking good on the run line or not. Again, Reds run line today was plus, what was it? It was plus 105 initially on minus 1.5 against the Nationals with Patrick Corbin on the bump. Someone let me know what the Reds game is at the moment. I appreciate that. But if you guys are trying to get in on sports betting action like I am, doing it safe, secure, and responsibly by clicking the link down below. That way you too get 125% bonus for your first 3 deposits. Again, we're going to be breaking down our parlays, our picks of the day, and a lot of post-game shows, especially night post-game shows this year where the games will have concluded and we can find out the results by then. But there's a couple slates that I absolutely love today, guys, and it's 2. It's 1, Arizona Diamondbacks money line, absolute hammer. Absolute hammer. Even, whoa. I stand corrected. Run line. Miss me with the money line. Give me the run line. All they got to do is win by at least 1.5 runs against the Rockies. What are we doing here? That's easy. Okay, confirm. We're hammering the D-backs there. Love that. What's a wash up? It's 2-1 Nats. It's 2-1 Nats. What inning is it? 2-1 Nats. That's my luck, though. That's early season baseball. I'm sure Hunter Green had a great start, right? Or is having a great start. I don't know what inning they're in that Reds game. I digress. Mariners, minus 145. Why do I like this matchup and what has been an otherwise tight series thus far? It's because of the pitching matchup. Logan Gilbert's on the bump today. We saw George Kirby shut down those Red Sox batters yesterday. I expect Logan Gilbert to do more of the same here. I'm going to go a little bit lighter. I'm not going to go all the way hundo on this one. I'm going to drop 50 to win 34-48. And I wish you guys all well and good luck with your respective sports bets that you might be doing too. But seriously, Shoe 1, Nats lead in that Reds game. Is it early at least? They're in the 5th? To whoever said they're losing 8-1, you're a schmuck. 2-1, Reds only have 3 hits at this point. Patrick Corbin is pitching a masterclass through 4.5. Are you kidding me right now? This is what I mean. This is the one thing that sucks about doing sports betting early on in the season that many of you guys know very well. It's so unpredictable. It is so unpredictable because no one is getting on heaters yet. No one is you don't really know the establishment of players and teams. And even when you get to the halfway mark of this season, it very much can be a toss-up with what you get from these teams in the second half. So thankfully that Reds game is still in the 5th. So fingers crossed the Reds can hit there. They need to get the offense going. Need to beat up on Pat. Why are we not beating up on Patrick Corbin? But at the same time, our Mets have struggled beating up on Patrick Corbin over the years. So I digress. Mets fans, I love you all to death. This one wasn't fun at all. I shouldn't say that. There were moments that was fun after Yohan Ramirez was thrown out. But continue, let me know your thoughts down below for people on replay as well. What is your biggest takeaway from what was an embarrassing series loss to the Brewers, with RHYS Hoskins quite literally being our father, whether we liked it or not? Thank you guys all so much for watching. Happy Easter to you all that celebrate. I will see you all tomorrow, possibly for post-game, but that is to be determined based on what I'm doing with the family, because those things come first on the holiday. Thank you guys again. Love you to death, and as always,